G'day folks, and welcome back to another one. Well, in this one I am going to be building a live bait tank, and we're actually going to mould the live bait tank with melamine, or create a melamine mould I should say, and then we'll glass inside that, and we'll pull it out and then we'll glass it to the back of the boat. So without any further ado, we'll just get stuck straight into this one. As you can see from the transom episode, I've done a little bit of work, so we've glassed it all in, aside from our gaps at the back there that we haven't touched yet because we're still doing a little bit of internal work in here. But for the live bait tank, I've marked out where I basically want it to protrude off the front of this bulkhead. Now I'm going to come off on an angle and then back that way, and then an angle back that way, similar to this one pictured here. So basically get some melamine boards. I'm just going to see if I've got enough scraps there. If not, I'll have to go buy a new sheet. That's no big deal though. They're only about $50 for a 1200 by 2400 sheet, so it's relatively cheap stuff to buy in comparison to this Thermalite stuff that's about $500 a sheet. We'll go cut some pieces and see what we can come up with. Alrighty, well, I'll just talk you through quickly what I've done so far. Basically, just on the circ saw, I've cut some melamine out, and I've cut 4 pieces so far, so I still have my 5th piece, but I'm not really going to need that until we cap it off. So what I want to do is basically set it all out with our forward-facing part there and the fishies swimming around. So you basically get the shape of the live bait tank by doing this. Now, although I haven't set the angles yet, what I'm actually going to do is measure off this bottom sheet. Now it's 800 long, and that centerpiece is 500. So if we take 500 off 800, it gives us 300 minus, or divide it by 2, gives you 150. So what I should have is 150 from there to there and 150 from there to there. And that'll give us a centering point for the outside of these on either end. And then obviously all we'll have to do then is get this lined up, have that distance in there, 800, and hopefully those angles should then be the same. But I will check them with this fancy little gadget here. It's actually an electronic angle finder, this one, which is really handy for boats. But essentially we'll just screw all that together, and then we'll put a cap on top, and then we are ready to pretty much put some plasticine in there and make all the joins nice and glass her up. So as you can see, pretty straightforward, guys. Alrighty, well, she's all glued together. Our angles all set out. I checked those with my little tool here, and they're bang on. And as you can see, it's all fairly uniform and looking pretty schmick. A couple of holes there that ended up on the inside somehow, but we'll fill those with plasticine, that's no issue. And then yeah, this gap down here will get filled with plasticine, but because I want a nice round curve in there, I'm going to actually put a fair bit of plasticine in there to achieve that. Basically, once this is done, we just glass it straight on there. Fairly simple process. Now the layup, I'm going to probably make this, I reckon, I'm hopefully like 5 or 6 mil thick of glass, so probably looking at least 6 to 8 layers of 450 chop and 600 double bias. Not of each, but in total. And yeah, I'll get the first probably 4 layers on this afternoon, and then we'll go 3 or 4 tomorrow when it's cured. You can't put too many layers down at a time, because what'll happen, it'll actually get too hot and the laminate will crack. Well, there you have it. She's all plasticined up. A little bit of mold release wax to put in there. Just smear it on quickly. It's melamine, so it's not going to stick at all anyway, but I'll just whack it in there just to help it pop out. And then we can start laying up. Let's go. So we ended up with probably slightly just over 5 layers, especially in some of the overlaps. But yeah, it's a nice and cold afternoon and we're going to the evening, so I'm pretty confident it's not going to get too hot tonight or in the next hour or so. Well, that's all we can do for now. We'll come back in the morning and add probably another 5 layers to it, and then maybe by tomorrow afternoon we can pull it out of the mold. Now, you're probably wondering why I didn't put gel coat in here to start with, and the reason I didn't go with gel coat to start with is because I really want to run half gel coat and half flow coat up the side of this tank, like as far as the inside of the boat transitioning into the outside of the boat, so just for looks. And I just figured if it was to gel coat it, I just think you know, I'd still have to scuff that surface back to apply the flow coat. So either way, I'm gonna have to scuff this surface to apply flow coat and gel coat. Alright guys, well it's the next day and our mould has cured. Well, not fully cured, but it's set up and ready for laminating resin to be whacked back down on it. So we'll add another 5 layers now. Right, well I've whacked it in the boat, and I tell you what, don't mind the mess, it's a bit messy, but it's looking pretty schmick in the boat there. I'm really happy with the way it's sitting. The side here has dropped a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is actually glass down each side first, get it glassed onto the actual bulkhead there. And then what I'll do is slowly lift this level with the top lip there, and we'll glass it in stages to try and get it over there. We'll use something like a screw and a bit of timber over the top to try and pull it up and hold it in place. And then we'll glass beside that screw, or that timber I should say, and then obviously remove that once the glass is set up, and then finish the rest of it. It's a little bit of a process to glass it on, but to start with, I'm just going to glass down the sides here, and it's already looking pretty plumb on either side. What I've got to do is just tack it in place with some hot glue, with the just some chocks and some hot glue. That'll hold it in place, and then yeah, we'll make up some Cabasil and resin mix, putty up, get a little bit of a radius down each side, and away we go. One thing I did forget to mention to you guys earlier is that because this outside facing edge of the mold, or the inside edge of the mold I should say, where the glass sat up against the melamine, is fully cured, any molded product, that side, the mold side, has been sealed off and it will be cured on the outside. The inside, no, because it's still laminating resin, but the outside of this tank is cured and quite smooth. What I had to do before I glassed it to the edges, sides here, was grind some little edges there. I did taper it down a little bit to allow for the glass going in there as well. What I did was 2 layers of 450 chop just to tie it to the side of the boat, or the back of the boat there I should say, the transom. And then I'll put all the structural glass on the inside when we cut either the window in to access it in there, the window of the live bait tank, or the lid. So either way, I'm going to have access in there, and I'm going to put a lot more structural glass on the inside and really beef it up on the inside to tie it back to that transom. The outside's more of just tying it in for cosmetic reasons, but also just to give me a base to work off, so once it's stuck there, it's stuck there. Now you'll notice what I did on the top there, because this edge was sagging down, I've put a beam across the top and put a little chock there, and just whacked 2 screws down in there and just drilled them in and out to adjust the height there. Got the height pretty good, I'm pretty happy with that. I've just filled it with Cabasil and resin. I'm not gonna lay glass on there for the time being. I'm gonna let that set up. I'll probably sand it reasonably smooth tomorrow, and then because the sides have been then holding the tank on, I'll be able to knock all the timber off here, and then just get a nice even coat of chop strand mat over the edges there, so it'll look a little bit more uniform, a little bit more neat. Now it's all glassed in, underneath, up under there, and I've just bogged along that little lip there because we'll glass it from the inside, on the inside edge once we cut this hatch. Now the intention is to cut quite a large hatch, but I'm leaving a strip at the back here to mount our bait board into, because I don't think the bait board's going to span from this side of the well to this side of the well. And not only that, I don't want it too close to the engine because I don't want the engine trimming up into the bait board, so the further forward we can move it, the better. Now, through the live bait tank is going to be more than solid enough to mount our bait board there. Now I'm just going to cut radiuses around these corners, and then we'll run along here with the grinder. I think it's going to be the straightest cut. All right, guys, well, that's some structural glass on the inside of the tank here. Up next, we'll look at making our little recessed hatch lid receiver. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to make that out of fiberglass, and we'll just have maybe a 10 mil overhang on the inside of the lip here. And then intention is to put a clear perspex lid on this so you can see through it. And then one day I might put a window in the front of it, but that'll be a prefabricated window. I'm not going to recess anything in there, and it's not a necessity to have a window in a live bait tank, but it is nice to be able to look back and see if your slimies or your yakkers are still swimming around quite healthy. So, well, that's that stage. We'll crack right into making this hatch receiver. So what I've got to do now is make a hatch receiver. To do that, I'm going to use the old cutout piece that I've hole sawed the edges and dropped out of the tank. And basically what I'm going to do is transpose this onto this sheet of glass, which I cut out of the wave breaker window. And then what we'll do is we'll add 10 mil to the inside and 20 mil to the outside, which will give us our lip to sit under the lid there. And then the other 10 mil back the other way is going to give us the lip to extend out for our hatch or our lid cover to sit on. So basically it's got somewhere to rest and it doesn't fall into the tank. Alrighty guys, well, as you can see, that lip we've created along there to hold our lid. Now what I've got to do is scuff the surface of this, and then we'll make up a Cabasil and resin mixture as a small glue, and then give everything a good acetone wipe, and Bob's your uncle. We'll glue it in, clamp it in place. That's it, guys. That is, bar making the lid out of some clear perspex, a couple of hinges and a latch. That's my live bait tank basically. So obviously fairing, that's to come yet, and then obviously gel coat and flow coat, but that's something that I'm going to do as a whole for the boat, so I obviously can't demonstrate in this video that. So on that note, this is where I'm going to finish this one and wrap it up for the week. Guys, if you did like this one, please give the video a like. It definitely helps with the algorithm. And further to that, if you haven't already, subscribe. That certainly helps as well. And hit that notification bell if you want to see when we post more content. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there. Thanks again.